very different vibe in the room, depending on who got back to the room first. I mean, and we had classes at the same time. So we're like sprinting, like, I want to get practice right on the TV.
And here we go. Time for another episode of Kash's Top 5. It's been a minute, but we're going to do a fun one today. Joining me is Kylie Conway from Wish TV8. You've seen her anchoring the morning news, and now they're getting into the podcast game, which is very cool. All around cool indie chick, downtown, all over with the fam. It's good to have you on.
Thanks. I'm so glad that you invited me on, and I'm very excited to talk about what we're talking about today. But yes, downtown is our hood. We love it down here. And yeah, Indiana through and through. Grew up in Southern Indiana and came back to good old Indianapolis. IU grad all the way. So couldn't be loving it more.
So we have quite a few things in common, that being native Hoosiers, and our topic today, we're going to be ranking our top 5, something important to both of us, big part of our lives, especially growing up, our top 5 favorite game shows of all time.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I grew up watching game shows with my family. I was such, a closet nerd, not even a closet nerd. I was like a proud nerd in high school in a lot of ways. I was an athlete, but, I was, I was an artist, and then my favorite channel was the Game Show Network, like GSN. That was it. Yeah. I would just go down there and like really get into the games. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, my mom couldn't get rid of cable because I needed GSN. And that was just a necessity in life.
Wow, so it was just like CNN at the airport. You just had Game Show Network on 24/7. Yeah.
Oh, I'm talking Card Shark, like all the old reruns of those original game shows. Let's see, 2 of which are on my top 5 list. Not Card Shark, although it was a great game. And Press Your Luck, the old Press Your Luck. Gosh, I could watch those forever.
It'd be harder to do. Well, actually, I don't know if it'd be easier or harder, but to do a game show list of ones we didn't like, because I don't know that I would have very many on that list. So,
I don't think I would either. I will say, and this is going to be extremely controversial for game show lovers, but I'm not a huge fan of the match game.
Oh, really?
It depended on who was on the panel. And
true.
But some of them would just annoy me, but other words, sometimes Hollywood Squares would bother me too. But other than those.
All right, well, let's kick it off. We'll see where we end up. Number 5, this is your 5th favorite game show of all time. Kylie, what do you got?
Number 5 is Password.
Okay. Like old school Password? Oh yeah, very familiar. Like old school Password?
Old school Password. Yeah. Number 5, I mean, I teetered with it and Press Your Luck actually for number 5, but I went with Password because I just liked it better. I liked the interaction between the celebrity and just the guest who came on, the contestant, because oftentimes I really felt for the contestant when they were paired up with a celebrity who wasn't pulling their weight. And like, it's not their fault. They didn't choose this, like they're doing so good. And the celebrity, it would also be funny to see them be, humbled by something that they might not necessarily be good at. And then on the flip side, there were some celebrities who came on and just crushed it. Like, man, you're really good at this.
That's a strong out of the gate. So that would be, that's a throwback. My number 5 for you is not quite the throwback. We kind of grew up around the same time, same generation. So I was affected a lot by, 90s, 2000s style game shows. And my number 5 is Win Ben Stein's Money from Comedy Central.
Oh my gosh. That one's really good. Yeah. I had completely forgot about that. I'm Ben Stein. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Well,
good one.
I'm a huge nerd like you, and that was like, I could have trivia game shows be my entire top 5. I had to kind of, be
Sure.
really, I had to be really judicious on what I picked. But When Ben Stein's Funny was great because it was legit hard trivia, which was fun. And, and it was really funny. It was a good time. Jimmy Kimmel, that's where he got his start before he went on to do his thing. And
I didn't know that.
yeah, he was the host. I mean, he read the questions. He was just kind of the schlubby guy with jeans and a t-shirt. Like, he'd read the questions, and then obviously Ben Stein would go to play. Good show. It holds up. I wish they'd be able to bring it back in some way. I don't know that they can because you kind of have to have Ben Stein, but I'm sure you could find a similar personality that'd be able to do it. But that was a good one.
I'm gonna have to go through and watch some YouTube clips or something after this of that, because I'd actually forgotten about that game, but very good one. And Ben Stein was great on that, surprisingly. I'm like, oh, he can really, keep our attention here.
Yeah, the categories were always real clever. It was good. All right, so we had Password at number 5. Kylie Conway, what's your 4th favorite game show of all time?
Family Feud.
Now,
And this one
which
can
host?
go, exactly. So, the host is difficult. I think Steve Harvey does a really good job, not gonna lie.
Yeah, he's really good.
He is. And I don't know, I'd have to go with him. I'd probably go with him. But they've all been good. I can't remember. How many have there been? Like 6?
There have been a lot. There was the original, of course, Richard Dawson from like the 70s and the 80s. And then you had...
you know what?
Yeah.
He wasn't really my favorite.
It also doesn't hold up over time, kissing everybody like that, little presumptuous, a little aggressive. Then you had Ray Combs.
That's probably why I didn't pick him.
Yeah, creep factor for sure. But I liked when Richard Karn, Al from Home Improvement, he was
he was really good. I actually liked Ray Combs a lot too. But I had to look up his name. I couldn't remember his name, but he was one of my favorites. But I think that Richard Karn was really good. And I just like him in general. I feel like he's good in everything. And Home Improvement is always something that
just a nice
warms
guy,
the heart. But he I think the downfall of the Family Feud hosts is when they try to make it, or when they're just not funny. They try to be too witty whenever it doesn't call for it. You can just let the family shine, like whatever they said that's funny or smart or whatever. Sometimes you just gotta let them do it. And I think that's Steve Harvey's strength, is sometimes he just says the reaction to whatever they said with a facial expression.
Oh yeah, and that says,
because it's definitely the whole thinking.
It says it all. Just when he stares at them and they know.
Yeah, totally.
Well, my number 4 for you, I don't think you're gonna like, but it's a little bit of a throwback. My number 4 is Match Game. I was a big fan.
Oh,
yeah.
Again, it would depend. There were some episodes of it that I loved. What did you like about it?
Well, what's ironic is I actually really liked Richard Dawson on Match Game because he was usually funny. They always wanted to match with him on the last one because he was always right. He always guessed the right word. And you didn't realize it at the time because I was a little kid watching with my dad, or, if my grandma was visiting, we'd watch. Those were probably B, C list celebrities back in the day, but you don't know that. Like, they're on TV. So those are like the biggest, like Brett Summers with their huge glasses, Charles Nelson Riley with his
Betty White was on
Nipsey Russell. What's that?
Yeah. Was Betty White on there for a while?
Yeah.
Ever?
Yeah. Betty White.
Yeah.
So they were all like cartoon characters to me. They were just these big, larger than life type characters. It was just fun. There was sometimes, usually it was a goofy setup, and it was kind of an innuendo of what the blank was. And I don't know. I just really enjoyed it when I was a kid.
Yeah. I mean, again, I get it. There were some that I really liked, and it would just depend on probably the questions and who was sitting in the seats. And also the contestants. Sometimes they were, you could tell they were nervous to be in the room with that many, you know, famous people or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it.
Okay, so we have Password, we have Family Feud. What do you got at number 3?
$100,000 pyramid.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I feel like
Love
for
the
game
game.
shows, that's kind of a deep cut compared to others. So I'm curious what drew you into this one.
I wanted to be on the show so bad. I mean,
Okay.
I would be at home just like desperately wanting to tell them the words they needed to say. And
Yeah.
it just killed me when they couldn't find the words. I'm like, they will understand they will get it if you just say this word. This is the word you need. And it just, you know, I loved it. And then when they got it, I was so excited for them, you know, because, and some people just flew through them and then they get to that last triangle and you're just like, come on, you can do it. And then the time, you know, you see the time, it's just this adrenaline rush.
You
The
know,
whole thing about it.
that's a good point. I got to say, out of all the game shows, that one has to be one of the more anxiety inducing, stressful, like,
sure.
oh my God, come on. Cause there's the clock and then there's it's not trivia, but you know, you're doing mind, you're trying to, you know, put things together.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. I didn't think about that one I Googled game shows. Like, I don't want to miss anything. I want to make sure I get all of my favorites. And I saw that. I was like, yeah. Was that Dick Clark was the host for a long time?
It was, yeah. And I love Dick Clark. So, I mean, who doesn't, right?
Legend.
But yeah, okay. You're number 3. I'm excited for this one.
So number 3 is pure 90s. This is, I'm a millennial and absolutely love the show. And my number 3 is also, I really wanted to be on it. And that's probably why I loved it so much. Hosted by Indianapolis native Mark Summers, we have Double Dare.
Oh gosh. Of course. Great choice. And yes, I always wanted to be on it too. But I'm, you know, like, who wants to get slimed?
Oh,
It's just
no, sign me up. I'll get
embarrassing.
the Nickelodeon GAC or the ooze or the slime, whatever it was. 100%. It was
Well,
great. You
I
answer
always wanted to
trivia
be the
questions. You
one.
go through the obstacle course. You have to go through like this giant PB&J, and you're trying to find the flags or whatever. It was great. It was so dumb, but I loved it.
It was so good. And some of them were hard, but I always wanted to be the person who had, you know, who needed the highest skill level of like shooting the Nerf ball into the cup on the person's head, or, you know, whatever that was. But, you know, you're thinking now that I'm older, I'm like, man, the person with the cup on their head or whoever who's sitting there and really trying, they had to be really skillful too. You know, they're
Oh
the
yeah.
ones really moving and whatever. Love Double Dare. Solid choice there.
Yeah.
Peanut butter jelly sandwich.
I would have loved, I just remember that episode. I would have loved to have gone on, but knowing my sister and my mom and my dad, we would have just been yelling at each other the entire time. Like, what are you thinking? What are you doing? Like, we wouldn't have been able to concentrate on the task at hand.
You're doing it wrong. It would just be a show and tell of what not to do when you're competing on Double Dare.
Okay, so we're approaching top 2 territory. We haven't had one crossover yet, which I think is impressive. Password, Family Feud, Pyramid. Kylie, what's number 2?
Okay, these were really hard for me to choose which one was number 1 and which one was number 2. And I'm still right now having a hard time with it, but I'm going to stick to what I wrote.
Okay.
Price is Right.
Okay. Tell me about it.
So love Bob Barker. For starters, I just thought he was the epitome of game show host. And I wanted to do the Planko so bad. Like, every time, if there was ever an episode that didn't have Planko, like, man, they got, you know, gosh, I feel sorry for them. They didn't get to try at Planko. But just seeing the excitement of these people, and, you know, there was an element of luck in it because of the wheel. But I do think there was also a good element of strategy and some knowledge, you know, when you're bidding. But really the only major luck came to spinning the wheel, and which was a huge part of the show. But I like the colors of the set. I like the different games. And again, there's the element of, and that's with my number one choice too, and all of these actually of yours, and game shows in general, we're sitting at home thinking, oh, should they keep going up, and just a little bit more, let me think, keep going, oh, stop, and you're yelling at the TV, stop. But then oftentimes I was wrong, and they would do what I wouldn't have done, and they got it. Like, man, I would have not done well that round.
Okay. I mean, Price is Right did not make my top 5, but I get it. And I had a theory early on that it was just people wanted to play Plinko. Like, that was the whole reason it was a good show, but that's not fair. There was other cool stuff. Like, I remember enjoying the Yodeler going up the mountain.
I was just and that's the one in my head that I was just like, keep going, and the Yodeler's about to fall off the cliff.
Yeah. Well, and what's weird is that one kind of is set apart because, it's kind of the cliche, anecdote that when you were homesick from school, you watched Price is Right. That's what was on during the day, because most game shows were evening, and Price is Right was like 11 o'clock or whatever it was. So you have your saltines and you have your ginger ale or flat Sprite, whatever it was that you had when you were sick. And then you had Bob Barker before Young and the Restless and the other soap operas came on.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because in college, okay, this is a great story that I just thought of. In college, I would run home as fast as I could because whichever the roommates got back by what time, I think it might have been like 1 o'clock. Either got to watch Price is Right, which was me, or the other ones got to watch Days of Our Lives. So whoever got back first, it was a very different vibe in the room, depending on who got back to the room first. I mean, and we had classes at the same time, so we're like sprinting, like, I want to get Price is Right on the TV. Daily thing.
When you said at the beginning that you're a bit of a nerd, I was questioning that, and now I know for sure that's some nerd stuff. And also, how great of a story is that? Like, we kind of don't get that anymore with streaming and on demand and DVR with all like our technology and capability now. There is no like racing home to beat the roommate to the TV. Like, that's so foreign to, kids today. That's such a great story though. It's so funny.
Checking your messages on your phone in your room to see if your crush left you one, like the anticipation of the blinking light. Like, who is it? Is it mom? Or is it the guy I have a crush on? I don't know. Yeah. It's going to be either a really big disappointment or really exciting.
No offense, Mom. Okay.
No offense, Mom. Love you. But...
Right. So we had, Price is Right was your number 2. My number 2 for you, and this could have been number 1, but I had to be honest. Number 2, again, 90s. It was the era that we grew up in, but Legends of the Hidden Temple is just unstoppable, man.
Oh. I don't even think I ever watched that.
What? You never watched Legends of the Hidden Temple?
Who was the host of it?
Kirk Fogg. He wore all the denim, and he had like a little leather fanny pack. And Olmec, the statue head. And there was like the purple parrots and the blue barracudas and the silver snakes and the green monkeys, and you had to go through all these trials. Like something you're making up. No, come on.
You sure you didn't dream this?
I swear I did not dream this. Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Okay. No. Oh, it was Nickelodeon. Okay. I didn't watch much Nickelodeon. Other than Double Dare, which I did watch, but
sorry, it wasn't.
I think I would have loved this show though.
It's amazing.
I know. It's over on GSN watching Password.
Yeah. Is to tell the truth on? I don't want this Nickelodeon stuff.
Exactly. It looks good. I'll have to introduce this to my kids and see what they think, because I'll just pretend that it's for them.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Enjoy it myself a little bit.
I cannot wait for you to watch it. It's so good.
Okay. I will. I'll report back.
But I'm not going to tell you any more
Minus
about it.
competition.
Like I was going to get into detail, but nope.
Okay.
You're going to, and
All right.
I guarantee you, actually, if you watch that with your boys, that come Halloween time, they're going at some point to want to dress up as one of the contestant teams on that show.
No. Okay. Can't blame them. So far, the costumes look pretty legit.
And they're easy to put together.
Okay.
You just get a couple of the same color shirts and some khaki shorts, and you're pretty much good to go. Okay.
Perfect. I will encourage that.
So, top 5, we have
Dun, dun,
Password,
dun.
Family Feud, $100,000 Pyramid, Price is Right, Kylie Conway, your favorite game show of all time. What do you got?
Number 1, classic Concentration
What?
with Alex Trebek. Yes.
Really?
Oh, I love that show so much. And I was so disappointed when they canceled it because there were still new episodes out as of the 90s. And they had the computer game that I loved. I remember going to my friend's house and play. She had it on her computer. I didn't have it. I'd go over to her house and we would play. And gosh, I loved everything about it. I loved the questions. I loved, and that's another thing where you could be really good as a contestant and then someone else wins because they just get it on the right time to then click, I know the puzzle. And that was part of that anticipation too of like, what's that square going to reveal and, the matching. And then when you're in the little square with just you and the pressure is on and you're picking the numbers and remembering where everything is. I mean, it's just a good game, I think.
Wow. I was not expecting Concentration at all. That honestly feels like no, don't get me wrong. It's a good pick, but it feels a little hipstery. Like somebody who doesn't like the Beatles, they're like, I like the more off the beaten path kind of thing, which is great. I mean, you should be true to you, but that's such a great pick. We had no crossovers whatsoever. This is amazing.
Okay, so you definitely don't have classic Concentration as your number 1.
I don't. It's an honorable mention for sure, but it did not crack the top 5.
Okay.
I had Win Ben Stein's Money, Match Game, Double Dare, or Family Double Dare, if you're going to be a stickler. We had Legends of the Hidden Temple, which is a real show, was my number 2. My number 1 game show of all time, also hosted by Alex Trebek. This is such a fan favorite, but
I'm nervous right now.
It's Jeopardy. I cannot deny that's such a perfect show.
It is. And I almost put it in my top 5 just because I love Alex Trebek so much, in honor of him, but I didn't because honestly, it's not one of my top favorite game shows. However, as a game show fan, I have a lot of favorite game shows and it's definitely in like the top, probably 8, top 9. And you're right. It's a fantastic show. I think that probably I don't have the nostalgia associated with it that I do with some of the other ones, which is I think where a lot of my love comes from. These is the nostalgia from home. Like you kind of associated the Price is Right when with, being sick from school and everything. And that's where a lot of these others come from. And my family wasn't a Jeopardy family. And I feel like that's something that you start to love when you're a kid if your parents watch it and you kind of hear that in the background and then you kind of grow into loving it. But certainly I've watched it as an adult and I get into it. I think sometimes though I leave feeling very dumb. I think maybe that's why I don't like it. I'm like, oh.
Well, it depends on the categories you get though. That's the thing.
Totally.
If you have, if I see museums come across, I'm such an uncultured swine. I'm like, I'm out. I can't do it. But no, it's so good. I grew up.
You're like 90s rock and roll. You're like, I got this.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of those shows. You nailed it. Grew up watching it with my dad. My mom would be like in the kitchen reading or knitting or whatever, but my sister would be there. It was just kind of a communal family thing we'd watch. My grandma, my dad's mom, lived down in Florida, and we would discuss the Final Jeopardy, like when we talk on Sunday nights, because it was cheap to talk on Sunday nights. We talk about the Jeopardy from the previous week. That's how old we are. and it kind of carried into my adult life. I still love going around town doing pub trivia at different breweries or bars around town. I did Brain Game when I was
I
in high
do
school.
love doing those.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah, Jeopardy's number one. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to rank our top fives. I know you're a
Yeah,
busy gal.
fun.
I know we can usually see you on the TV doing the news, but where can people find you? Where can they read your stuff? All that. Hit us with all the socials.
Sure. All my socials are pretty easy if you just search Kylie Conway. Kylie TV is my Instagram, and Kylie Conway are my Facebook and Twitter accounts. I guess I'm gonna get on TikTok here soon. I've been fighting it. Hard, but
It's gonna happen.
I'll let you know what it is once I get there. I know I'm gonna be that nerd again who doesn't know what I'm doing, whatever. And then wishtv.com, of course, is our main website. And then the podcast you mentioned at the top of the Zoom it's the All Indiana Podcast Network. And I specifically do the the News 8 Daily 8, which is a daily news podcast that hits around 10 o'clock in the morning, just getting you, it's about 20 minutes long. And it really just gives you a rundown of what's happening, the major headlines for Hoosiers, which means to me, the biggest headlines locally and what's trending around the world, what's happening nationally too. So politics, of course, and then, this morning, some breaking news here and there. But yeah, it's just a great thing because it hits kind of at a time where I know stay-at-home moms and dads, it's a good time for them to just listen and get things done. And you don't have to be watching. I audibly tell you everything you need to know. So it's pretty good.
Awesome.
I can do it in my sweatpants if I want. Fantastic.
Always a win, of course.
Yeah.
Well, Kylie, thank you again for taking the time. I really do appreciate it. This was a fun one, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Awesome. Thanks so much.